Completely normal. Even if your trip's only for a few days, it is completely normal that you're going to feel a little bit crappy when you actually return. All right, who else have we got in the house? We've got Jody's in the house, Jen's in here, Nick's in here, Karina's in here, Kate's in here. How good. Hey, Kazzy, what's going on, girlfriend? All right, guys, if you've got any questions, ask them into the comments, and we're going to start this episode of Q&A right now. Good morning, Lynn. By the way, Lynn, I absolutely loved your transformation post yesterday. Okay, Kate, question that has been previously asked, but can you have too much protein? That's a good question, isn't it? Can you have too much protein? I think protein is really in its heyday at the moment, right? People are starting to understand that protein is very, very important for two reasons predominantly. Number one is that if you are trying to change your body composition and you don't have enough protein, it's like trying to build a house with no bricks. It's very, very difficult to do, and you're not going to be able to do it, right? You need protein because you are breaking down protein. In fact, if you were in a calorie deficit, in other words, you're trying to lose body fat, the big issue is that you are breaking down protein because you are in a deficit. So your body is trying to replenish the protein that you're building, that you're losing, with the protein that you're bringing in. But if you're not bringing in enough, then you got nothing to replace it with, right? And so what ends up happening is you break down muscle protein, and you do not want to do that. So the first thing is you need it for your body composition. The second thing that we need protein for is because it fills us up, okay? When we get filled up on protein, our digestion just slows down a little bit, Kate. And what that means is that you are fuller for longer, okay? And it tends to mean that your blood sugar doesn't spike as much and you don't get these hunger pangs to the same level. Now that we've talked about why it's important, and I wanted to go deep in this because it's a very good question, Kate. Can you have too much of the good stuff? Not directly. I don't think it's the biggest issue, right? The kidneys they're like filtration nets. And what they'll basically do is just take out what you don't need. The kidneys do that very, very well. The problem is that, now see if you can get your head around this, Kate. If you are capping your calories at a certain number, okay, you're capping your calories at a certain number, and your calories are made up by three things: carbs, fats, and protein, right? If you're having too much of one of them, protein, you might not be having enough of the other two. Now, what could be the problem with not eating enough fat and enough carbohydrate? Okay, because that's the two that you're going to be missing if you're very high in protein. Now, what's very, very high? For a woman, I would say there's just no real benefit to being over 150 grams a day. Okay, there's no real benefit. But is there a detriment? Okay, let me answer that question like this. Your hormones, particularly your sex hormones, which is estrogen, progesterone, these are made from fat, or specifically cholesterol. So if you are not having enough fat in your diet, you may risk not being able to make enough of your hormones, right? This is one of the reasons that bodybuilders can tend to have what's called amenorrhea, where they actually lose their period. I'm talking about female bodybuilders, of course. This is because their fat level comes so low. So that's the first possible thing. But even if you're leaning towards a more keto style of eating, Kate, where it was, decently high in protein, decently high in fat, and you're capping your calories at, say, 16 or 1700 to try to lose body fat, well, what would happen then is that you're going to be very low on carbs. So what's the problem with being very low on carbs? It's your body's preferred source of energy. And generally speaking, when you're really, really low on carbs, you're going to struggle to get through the day. That's the reason why we don't think that you need to go super keto or like crazy, ridiculously high protein. The numbers that we kind of prescribe for you, Kate, is enough. So to answer your question in a long-winded way, and the reason I've taken a long time on these questions is a very, very good question, is no, I don't think it's dangerous, but are there adverse effects that could come with eating a very high protein diet if your calories are capped? Yes, your energy levels and your fat from your hormones can tend to drop a little bit low. Does that make sense, Kate? Let me know if that answers the question, and if it doesn't, I can clarify a little bit for you. But I think with where you're at and your training, you're looking, super athletic, Kate. What you don't want to be doing is you do not want to be cutting all the carbs and fat out of your diet. And realistically, from just kind of looking at where you are, you probably, if anything, need to start doing a reverse diet at a certain point where you bring your calories up, because you're looking pretty trim and terrific, to be honest. And good morning, Melissa, Tanya, and Michelle. I hope you guys are really, really well. Hello, Kath. Hello, Cindy. And hello, Dino. Guys, if you have any questions that you want to ask live, let me know. So we've got Veer, Kate saying, dude, I'm 16 years old and short and trying to get in good shape. Is 50 to 60 grams of protein enough in a day? No, it's not. It's not enough. And this is the example that I mean. Regardless of your age, I would calculate if you simple calculation, okay? If you use pounds, right? Because you're in the US, let's say, or Canada maybe, you could just say whatever you think you should weigh. It might be 150 pounds or 130 pounds, depending on how tall you are. You said you're short. So let's say you're short and you weigh 120 pounds. How much protein should you have? 120 grams a day. That's kind of like the back of the paper towel rule, right? If you are, let's say you're in Australia or the UK and you tend to weigh in kilograms, well, if you just want a back of the paper way to do it, you can say, I want, for every kilogram of my ideal body weight, I want at least 2 grams of protein. So if your ideal body weight is 60 to 70 kilograms, right, you probably want somewhere around 120 to 140 grams of protein. That's kind of like, ballpark figures. Does that make sense? Let me know if you got any questions on this, guys, because that's a really, really good question as well. Some great questions, and I haven't even started on my list yet. Kate says, that's perfect. We'll reach out to coach as well. Yeah, perfect about reverse dieting. So actually, you know what? For the good of this, let's actually talk about reverse dieting, because I think it would benefit everyone to hear this. What is reverse dieting, right? Look, it's not some magical thing, right? A reverse diet is for lack of a better word, it's a cute way to say increasing your calories. So why don't we just say increasing your calories? Well, the reason is because for a lot of people, the concept of just increasing your calories makes them think that either A, it's really scary, or B, that they should just shoot the calories up out of nowhere. No, that's not what we're saying here, guys. And good morning to all the ladies that are joining. Hello, guys, Chevy and Michelle. We're not shooting our calories up out of nowhere, right? We're gradually increasing them. And here's the reason why. We're trying to, A, build some muscle. If we can build some muscle, that also means that we build a bigger engine, making it easier to lose fat, right? Number one. Number two, if we've still got some room to lose some fat, right? If our calories remain very, very low, let's say we get down to 1,400 calories and we've still got 20 kilos of weight to lose. Like, let's say that, I don't know, you know that your ideal weight, and you're not being ridiculous, your ideal weight is, say, 70 kilograms, but you're 90 kilograms and 1,400 calories. The problem with this is that you're going to be sitting there going like, oh my God, like I'm going to be, what am I going to do now? Like cut even more? What are you going to do? Go down to 1,100 calories? And then all of a sudden it just starts to become very, 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 very low calories, destructive to your energy levels, not great for you. Anyway, so what we do is we say, hey, what I'm going to do is go through a period where I'm going to lift my calories up. I'm not expecting to lose more weight. That's not the point. What I'm trying to do is take a little bit of stress off my body, because dieting is stressful and the body adapts to it slowly. So what we want to do is we want to slowly increase our calories back up. Slowly. What's slowly? 50 calories a week? That's plenty. And if you think about it, 50 calories a week is literally half a banana. It's half a banana. It's not like a massive amount of food, right? So half a banana. We gradually increase our calories up And we can do it from carbs mostly because that's what we cut on the way back down, right? On the way down. So gradually increase the calories back up again. And we might get this said person from 1400 to 2400 over the course of 3 months of a reverse diet. They're going to feel stronger. Their energy levels are going to be mad. They're going to feel great. And guess what? Now, because we're back at 2400 calories again, now we can do a cut and still be back at 2100 calories, lose some fat. Then we could go to 1800 calories, lose some more fat. But what are you going to do when you're stuck at 1400 calories? This is the trap that everyone gets in. And so what a lot of women will do particularly, and I'm not kind of gender bashing here, I'm just saying it's typical of what will happen, is they will just stay eating these 1400 calories because they know they can manage their weight at that level. But at the same account, they feel stuck. And then what happens is they go on holidays with their girlfriends or their husband or partner or whatever, and they just have a normal holiday, eat a little bit of normal food, and they just blow up in no time. Part of that's water retention, right? Because you're eating carbs again. But the other part of it is that when your calories are super low and suppressed, and then you start eating a ton, right? You can't, you're trapped. You're in such of a calorie surplus again. So this is when we talk about having a strong metabolism. This is why, guys, this is why a high protein diet, right? Needing to go through a reverse diet after a period of time and doing resistance training is critical. Every person watching this, there is no exception in where resistance training shouldn't be. If you're purely trying to get down the aesthetic line and lose weight, you should be resistance training and walking. Resistance training and walking. 2 to 3 days a week resistance training, 40 to 60-minute sessions, and walking. That should be your exercise selection. Now, where is the exception to that? The exception to that is if aesthetic isn't your primary thing. For example, let's say that you're wanting to try to run a half marathon. Well, your goals are a little bit different. Let's say that you're wanting to be a tennis player. Well, your goals are going to be a little bit different because you need to be specific to the exercise that you're trying to get better at, right? But for the vast majority of busy parents, what we should be focusing on is lifting 2 to 3 times a week at home at the start if we need to, because we're embarrassed about the gym. Get in, build some muscle. There is not a 50-year-old woman on the planet that will get to 60 years old and say, damn it, I wish I hadn't built that muscle. Because what will happen is when they fall over, and we all do eventually when we get a little bit older, why are we falling over? Because our joints are not stable, because we are not balanced, we're not strong, and when we land on the ground, we break. If you have muscle, you don't break. Rant over. Hopefully that was helpful for everyone. Reverse dieting, super important. So I've got questions coming everywhere at the moment, guys. So I'm going to try to get across them in the right order. So Rebecca says, how accurate is MyFitnessPal with fiber? I previously thought I ate a good amount of fiber, but I always struggle to hit my fiber goal on MyFitnessPal. This is a great question, Beck. I don't really think that MyFitnessPal, we need to think about specificity to fiber. I think we've just got to ask ourselves a greater question. How accurate is MyFitnessPal? It's a guide. And why is it a guide? Well, because of a few things. One, human error, right? That's probably it is the biggest thing, right? So let's talk about the fact that any person can get on MyFitnessPal and make an entry, right? That's the first reason. So the database itself can be added to by the general public. This is why you want to try to actually select validated entries. If you search BBA, Beck, in MyFitnessPal, you'll find various recipes and food items that say BBA. They are ones that I have actually entered myself and validated for the help of our clients. Now, in terms of fiber, I don't actively track my fiber myself, Beck. Here's the reason why. The simplest way to hit a good amount of fiber is what? Eating whole foods. What does that mean? Fruits, vegetables, and maybe some whole grain kind of carbohydrates. If you're eating like some raspberries and some berries, for example, over the course of a day, you're going to probably have a little bit of fiber added to your protein bar, as an example. You're going to have some fiber at night through the carbohydrate that's in your meal, as long as you're not cutting all carbs out. So if you're having some rice or some pasta or some bread or something with your main meal, you should be getting pretty much enough fiber there to make things work, right? And when we increase fiber, we've also got to go and increase water as well. Think about, okay, so to recap, the way that weight loss works in the Better Body Academy model is this, right? The reason that you guys open the meal plan and you start doing the meal plan and you're like, holy shit, I'm so full. I'm so full. Here's the reason why, is because I'm increasing your protein, I'm increasing your fiber. And when I do those two things, digestion speed slows down. And when digestion speed slows down, you're fuller for longer. But that can actually go to the point where increasing your fiber and increasing your protein quite quickly in the absence of enough fluid and the absence of enough water can actually block you up. And I know that happens to a fair few number of people. Their bowel habits will change. And if that's happening to you, my suggestion is two things. Get your fluid right up, okay? And I'm going to give you the second thing, which everyone will say, oh yeah, I know that, but then they won't do it, right? What do you think it is? What do you think it is? Okay? It is walking after meals. Guys, if you struggle to poo in the morning, you feel like blocked up in the morning, I'll tell you, my regime looks like this. I'm not saying you need to copy it, but this is what works for me. I get up in the morning at 4 o'clock, and if I don't do my steps at 4 o'clock, I won't get them done. So I literally walk around the house in the morning, responding to clients, going through our Facebook group. I walk around for an hour in my house. And about the halfway mark of walking around my house, around my tables, just round around in circles, whilst multitasking and doing my scrolling, note, one of the things I gave you on the hack list, I need a poo. Why? Because the mobility pushes it through you. Does that make sense? Mobility pushes it through you. So, good idea, walk more. With your fiber, Beck, I would just say, like, don't get super infatuated about it, but eat whole foods. If you're eating predominantly whole foods and not packets, your fiber intake will go up. Okay, so Renee Bell says, hey, Jace, been doing a bit of research, menopause, and come across Dr. Sims. What are thoughts on saying women should eat within 30 minutes of walking? Okay, so there you go. I didn't even read that question, Renee. I didn't even read the question that you asked, right? I'm telling you, yeah. So firstly, Dr. Stacey Sims is a gun, right? She is amazing. And in addition to that, I can't think of any exceptions that her and our model would disagree with, to be honest. She's massive on strength training, huge on strength training. She is huge on walking. She's huge on a high protein diet. So yeah, Renee, in short, she's great. She's amazing. I actually reached out to her a while ago to see if I could actually get her to come and speak to you guys, but she's so freaking big now, I don't think that she would even notice any messages in her inbox. The point is, yes, walking within 30 minutes of eating is a very good idea. Actually, let me just what are your thoughts on her saying that women should eat within 30 minutes of waking? Okay, I've completely missed that. So I'm not familiar with that from her. What I do know is that my partner, Cordia, listens to her a lot. And she was talking about the role of fasting. Sorry, Renee, if I missed the question. The role of fasting in women's health. I would probably need to have a little bit more of a look at the reasoning. So if you can give me a break and I will look at why that is the case or why she's suggesting that. I think she's amazing. So I can't imagine that there would be anything. I think it's probably more going down the line of when you are like, women are so gravitational towards these like fasted workouts. I need to do these fasted workouts. Well, one of the problems with that would be that if you're flogging yourself when you've got no energy in your body, well, you could be temporarily like using a lot of muscle protein. That would be my feeling as to why she's saying that, which could be hormonally interruptive. Let me research that a little bit more, and I'll see if I can get a post up on the group about that, Renee, because it's a very good question, okay? Nicole, keep the questions coming, guys. Nicole says, with the gym workout, especially on the assisted machine, do I have to max out the weight before I can change my workout plan? That's a good question, Renee. Sorry, Nicole. Okay, so let's kind of think about this. When you do a machine in the gym, what are you actually doing? Like, think about it. Like, I think we get sort of trapped in a bit of a mindset, which is like, I'll go to the gym and it's completely different to other human movements. When you go to the gym, all you're doing is a thing that you would do with your body. And the machine, whether it's a pin or it's a cable or it's a dumbbell or it's a barbell, all you're actually doing is adding resistance to the movement. Like, it sounds obvious, but does that make sense? So when you're actually doing the movement, all you're doing is adding resistance to the movement. So for example, if I'm sitting here at my desk and I go like this, right, with my bicep, that the amount of resistance against gravity here is minimal because it's minimal. It's gravity, right? But if I start to put things into that, okay, this is a kilogram of water. Now there's some more resistance. So the muscle itself is being worked. So let's say I start to add more and more weight to this. All I'm trying to do by adding weight is add resistance to challenge the muscle to cause it to evolve. That's how you grow muscle, right? What's actually happening is you stop growing the muscle the moment that your effort equals the resistance. There might be a penny drop here for a few people. Does that make sense? Let me repeat it again. Why would the muscle, let me ask you a question. Why would the muscle grow any bigger if the effort you're required to move, the resistance is the same? They're the same. There's no extra effort. So the muscle doesn't need to get any bigger or stronger. So what happens is, to your point, to your question, Nicole, it is you continue to make the movements more challenging by doing different things called progressive overload. So this would be increasing the weight. This could be increasing the repetitions. This could be decreasing the rest times. This could mean really slowing down the movement, right? These are different ways to make the movement more difficult. Do you need to chop and change your program? No. This is the biggest mistake that so many beginner to intermediate trainers make. They change programs too quickly. Imagine, like, think of this, right? Listen up, kids. Think of this. If you told me you wanted to be good at tennis, right? And then you played tennis for a month and then you wondered why you're not at Wimbledon or not on the world tour after 3 months, but you only practiced it for 1 month. Like, if you said that to someone, they'd go, are you fucking crazy? Right? Here's the thing. You get better at it through repetition, not just through strength, but through gaining the skill of lifting. Everyone wants to chop and change their program. That is about the very worst thing you can do. I've done programs for 2 years. Why? Because I was still able to lift the weight, change this, keep the form, slow down the speed. I could move it in different ways to make it more challenging and more challenging and more challenging. If all you do is chop and change program, you're probably the same person that's chopped and changed from Better Body Academy to a different thing, to a different thing, to Orange Theory, to F45. I'm on keto one day, I'm on vegetarian the next day, I'm fucking intermittent fasting. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. You need to do the exact opposite of that. You need to choose your transformation model and do it forever. I've done the same fucking thing for literally the last 30 years. That's why it's easy for me. It's easy. And what I'm trying to teach us is, hey, make it easy for yourself, right? Make it easy for yourself. Like in Better Body Academy, our model is just so simple, and it's so simple that people think it can't be this simple. Do you guys get that? Like, there's plenty of people watching in our client group and on Instagram. Do you guys get that? Right? It's like, it's too simple. There's got to be more to it. There's really not that much more to it. You might get another 10 to 20%, but it is literally doing the basics over and over and over again. And for most people, that's boring. So really a better question to ask yourself is, do you want your training to be boring, maybe your food to be a bit boring and look sexy? Or do you want your food and your training to look sexy, like TikTok sexy, and your body looks boring, which then turns into shit mental health? Yeah, Tanya, the only difference between you and most people is we just overcomplicate it. Like, it is literally, if we're not talking about, guys, we're not talking about performance here, right? That's a little bit of a different game, right? There's some, when you're talking about doing things like powerlifting or running a marathon, these things are a little bit different. But if you just want to look good, right, and feel good, that's gonna take time if you've been living a certain way for a certain period of time. And unfortunately, that's not sellable very well, is it? I tell you guys that, and everyone on Instagram who's not part of our program goes, "Oh, that's boring. Not next." I'll go and listen to someone on TikTok that will tell me that I can just do this fucking thing in 30 days and I'll completely change. That is absolute horseshit, right? Guys, here's how you change. You ask yourself, what's my goal? I want to lose fat. Okay, where are my calories at? 1,200. That's a problem, right? We've got to build our metabolism back up to a point, and we're not going to focus on losing fat for the first three to 4 months. We need to get our metabolism moving again so we can actually have the life energy to do shit. Okay, our calories are back at 2,200, and I'm currently walking 4,000 steps a day because my job is sedentary, and I train at home kind of every now and then. Great. Now we've got a perfect platform. We could do a little bit of a calorie cut for sure. We don't need to go to 1,400, but we could bring it down to, say, 1,800 as an example. We bring our protein up. Just keep it there. Just keep it there. And now what we're going to do, right, is we're not going to do this fucking Orange Theory and bloody F45 and jumping around in our living room. Stop. None of those things build body composition. See, already everyone's leaving on Instagram. Why? Because they don't want to hear this. This is fucking not interesting, right? It's boring. But guess what? Guess what boring gets you? And I'm going to sound a bit self-indulgent here, and I don't mean to be, but I'm trying to explain what boring gets you. Boring gets you, I'm going to Hawaii on the 15th of fucking December. Then I'm coming to Australia. Then I'm going to play around on the east coast of Australia. Then I'm going to Bali. Then I'm going to the Philippines. Then I'm going back to Bali. Then I'm coming back to Vancouver. Why? Because when no one's looking, I just fucking do the simple shit. I show up every day. If I fuck it up, right, I'm a bad parent or a bad husband, I apologize to my wife and I say, I really messed up. I'm sorry. I don't self-sabotage and start jamming alcohol. I just go, I fucked up. Okay, cool. Let's get back on the horse. Let's go again. I know that most people, the bigger problem is they just quit on themselves. Stop quitting on yourself. So many of you guys are like, you're writing off the entirety of December. Like December, I'm on a fucking rant mode, aren't I, today? Like that's 1 month out of 12. That's something like what, 8%? Are you really going to write off 8% of the entire year and start in January when you are so bloated from Christmas that you feel like, oh my God, I did it again. Oh, my New Year's resolution's out the door. I'm going to change. This year's going to be the year. It's not going to be the year, right? Here's what you do. You enjoy a couple of days of where you get drunk at Christmas if you want to do that. You enjoy some food, you enjoy some lollies, you do that. But then why are you changing everything you do because of 1 or 2 days? Everything else stays the same. Everything else stays the same. And when you do the boring work over and over again, this lets you concentrate on having a really great life. And people go, oh, how are you doing? How are you doing this, Kate? Kaz, how are you doing this? Show up when I don't feel like it. I don't really pay attention to my feelings too much. I just do it and do it and do it and do it. And fast forward 6 to 12 months, you're a completely different person. I don't know if Ron Hilario is still watching, but Ron is the absolute epitome of this. Okay, I'm going to go back to answering some questions. My apologies, guys. Nicole says, yeah, I think it was to do with cortisol. So the basic premise of the morning fast is the suggestion that it is stressful to the body that you wake up and you don't eat. That's the premise, right? So if cortisol's high, this might inhibit some fat burning and could lead to some negative, consequences. Sure. Melissa, I've heard another naturopath that you shouldn't have coffee on an empty stomach, and it's also due to cortisol and stress. Also to eat within 20 to 30 minutes of waking. Yeah. So it's kind of repetition of the same stuff. And I guess, like, honestly, ladies, it depends on, like, with this, a lot of this stuff, anyone that comes and says to you, nah, that's not true. Like, for the most part, it depends on the context, right? So as an example, for let's say it's a person that has dieted all their life, they've just got a bad relationship with food, and they think that, taking a thermogenic and fasting for half the day is going to be the best way for them to lose fat, then that's probably not going to be right? It's probably not going to work. And that would be stressful to the body. Yep. So in that circumstance, I agree. But then someone who's functioning quite normal and wants to get all hinged up about cortisol because it's a buzzword, oh, I need to take some ashwagandha to get rid of my cortisol. Like, cortisol is very important. It is needed, right? If you don't have cortisol, you don't exist, right? And so people grab onto these buzzwords and then kind of flick them. Look, right? Is stress good or bad for you? Some stress is good. Why is stress good? Imagine you had no stress. Imagine you wouldn't fucking do anything, right? I wouldn't do anything. What would happen? I'd just sit there just being lazy because there's no time pressure on me to do everything. The fact that I'm stressed about the fact that I've got to go live and do a Q&A or get off this and do a kickoff call, those things keep me moving, right? So we're not trying to eliminate all sorts. We're not trying to do that. But too much stress goes the other way. What do we do if we have too much stress? Then we eat, we drink, we pile it on. Then we can't build muscle. Then we can't burn fat. Like, everything is very much gray. So if you're this black and white person trying to navigate your health, it's always just going to feel like a struggle for you because it depends on the context. Michelle says, are the thermogenic energy drinks beneficial for those of us who are losing weight? No. So I'll tell you what is the best thermogenic in the world, Michelle. I'll give you 2 good thermogenics, okay? Caffeine shameless plug, 6 a day. Teaspoons of instant coffee, not like double fucking espressos. Caffeine, really good thermogenic, and more than anything, protein. So what is a thermogenic? Let's talk about what a thermogenic is. A thermogenic is something that causes you to burn more energy because of essentially the lift in your temperature, right? So when you eat a higher protein diet, your body has to work harder to break down the protein than it does to break down carbohydrate or fat, right? So for this reason, let me see if I can help you get your head around this, Michelle. If you were to eat 100 grams of white rice, sorry, I'll say that again. If you were to eat 500 calories of white rice versus 500 calories of steak, okay? They'd be different amounts, but let's just say it. Actually, is the 500 calories the same from both? Not really. Not in the net effect. The incoming, yes, but why not? Because the steak, the higher protein meal, has what's called a higher thermic effect. What that means is that it takes the digestive system more energy to get the goodness out of the food, to break it down. Whereas something like white rice, it's not bad. I'm not saying white rice is bad. I'm saying the body breaks it down quite easily, right? So there's no thermogenic effect. So to your point, Michelle, would I bother taking thermogenic energy drinks? 100% not. What would I do? Drink coffee and eat a higher protein diet. And that's all the thermogenesis you need. Does that make sense? All right. So what else have we got in here? Trying to get across all of our groups. Can you please send me the recipe card for your chocolate mousse? Mine was disastrous. Did you follow the recipe card, Helen? Okay. I'm just going to embarrass you a little bit, Hells, but my 5-year-old daughter, now I've taught her to make mine exclusively. Guys, if you are in Better Body Academy and you have not tried my high protein chocolate mousse, it is to die for. Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to go into the guides section of our Facebook group. Helen, go into the guide section of our Facebook group, scroll down to, it's like guide 5 or 6, and you will see recipe cards, and that's where you'll find the recipe card. Okay, it is like unreal. Now, if you do it a little bit, if you add too much liquid, like too much syrup, it will be runny. So what I do is put it in the freezer. Okay. If it's too gluggy or your cottage cheese isn't mashing up enough, what I do is add a little bit of low-fat milk. All right, and get it to the consistency. So you prefer it a little bit more runny than you want gluggy, and that way you can put it into the fridge. Does that make sense? Or the freezer, and it just like, I'm literally eating this every night. I go through these phases where, like, initially it was Halo Top every single night. Then it was like these kind of 30-calorie ice cream ice blocks. I'm still on those, but this cottage cheese mousse, guys, it is, if you're a chocoholic and you like rich, like bitterish chocolate, it is unbelievable. Okay, Joe says, how long of a plateau do you have to have before you should reverse? There are circumstances where you would reverse without going into a plateau, Joe. Like, you might just decide, for example, the timing of year, for example, now is a pretty good time to reverse diet. Why? Because you're coming into Christmas where you're probably going to have some extra calories coming from your Christmas feed, right? So it would make sense that you're not in a deprived state going into Christmas. So it's winter in Canada where you live. You would just slowly reverse diet over the course of the next 3 to 4 months, right? Focus everything on your strength training. Keep the reverse very slow, Joe, and bear in mind, you need to focus on the strength training. If you don't do the strength training at the same time as you're doing the reverse diet, you're kind of leaving it on the table. Now, at the same account, what you don't want to do is do it quickly, right? You want to do it slowly. The reverse diet is meant to be slow, okay? Set the expectation, Joe, that you are not expecting to lose weight because you're slowly increasing your calories. So if you've hit a plateau, you're not going to all of a sudden likely start losing weight out of nowhere. But that's the point. That's the point. People say to us all the time, oh, I started reverse dieting and I didn't lose weight. You weren't meant to lose weight. The goal of doing the reverse diet was to get your calories back to somewhere where you could then, in the future, 3 to 6 months from now, do another cut. So perfect example for yourself. Carl, what's going on, brother? I miss you, pal. And I'm going to be doing New Year's Eve in Sydney, and it's going to be the first time that I've done that since the last time we spent together under the bridge, bro. So good. What's the best way to get your protein, shakes, bars, or food? What the hell does that mean? What do you mean, what's the best way to get it? Do you mean like buy it? Like, what do you mean? Okay. I'm not really sure what you mean by the question, but what do? I order my protein powders online. Generally speaking, I buy my protein bars from the store, and I personally go shopping. I don't know about you guys, but I personally go shopping like every second or third day, just so that I've got like fresh vegetables. And I think a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll be like, oh, I don't have any food, so I'll just get takeaway. I think what everyone should do is have a backup reservoir of like $8 lean cuisine meals or frozen meals. And if they meet the required, let's say they're 300 calories and 30 grams of protein, 10 to 1 rule, that's perfect as a backup, right? So if I ever run out of food and I don't feel like going shopping, I just get a frozen meal and just like put it in the microwave. Done. Might want to clarify the question if you want me to answer that any more deeply. Okay, so I think that's all the questions answered. Michelle, yeah, awesome, thank you. So I'll keep doing what I'm doing, 100%. Yeah, you don't need, Michelle, you've made the right move, getting involved. I want to tell you, Michelle, and to anyone else that's new, you need to be getting on the coaching calls. This is where the change happens, right? This is where the change happens. Okay, so I think we are ready to rock and roll. We're going to leave it there. I'm going to go and do a kickoff call with a few of the guys and girls, and I'll see you guys through the week. Appreciate you. Chat soon.